Ever feel like you're just kind of stuck, like in a mental fog,
Yeah.
struggling to focus or just not feeling sharp?
Yeah.
Well, you're not alone. And today we're taking a deep dive into the fascinating world of brain health with a renowned psychiatrist and brain expert,
Oh, cool.
Dr. Daniel Amen.
Wow. Okay.
Get this. He's scanned over 260,000 brains
Wow.
from everyday folks
Mm-hmm.
to celebrities like Justin Bieber and Miley Cyrus to really understand how our brains work and what we can do to make them thrive.
You know what's fascinating to me? I think a lot of times we treat our brains like an afterthought.
Yeah.
I mean, we're so obsessed with our physical health, we're going to the gym, we're eating right, we're doing all these things.
Yeah.
But we rarely stop to consider the health of the organ that controls literally everything.
Right.
Our thoughts, our emotions, our actions.
Everything.
Everything.
It's like we're driving around in a Ferrari,
Yeah.
but we're neglecting to change the oil or even like check the tire pressure.
Exactly.
And that's really where Dr. Amen's work comes in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's saying, hey, you need your brain health.
Yeah.
It isn't just about preventing dementia down the road. This is about living a better life right now.
And that's the key insight here, I think.
Yeah.
Your brain health directly impacts your mood, your memory, your focus, your relationships, even how long you live.
Right.
And the good news is even small changes in your habits can make a huge difference.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
What are some of those surprising everyday habits that might be secretly sabotaging our brain health?
One of the biggest culprits that Dr. Amen points to is digital addiction.
Okay.
We're constantly bombarded with information and stimulation from our devices, and it's really just wreaking havoc on our brains.
Huh.
He even calls it brain rot,
Brain rot.
which sounds pretty scary.
Okay, yeah, that got my attention.
Yeah.
But what does that actually mean?
Right.
Like, is scrolling through Instagram really that bad for us?
Well, think of it this way.
Oh.
All of that constant stimulation throws our dopamine production out of whack. Mm-hmm.
Dopamine is that feel-good chemical
Yeah.
that motivates us and gives us pleasure.
Yeah.
But when we're constantly flooded with these dopamine hits from social media, video games, or even just checking email, our brains actually become less sensitive to it over time.
Oh, it's like developing a tolerance.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like you need more and more to get that same feeling.
So it's not that, using technology is inherently bad.
No.
It's about finding that healthy balance, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's about being mindful of how much time we're spending online and making sure that we're balancing it with activities that actually nourish our brains.
Yeah.
Things like spending time in nature,
Right.
connecting with loved ones,
Right.
getting enough sleep.
Now, Dr. Amen also dives into some pretty sensitive topics,
He does.
like the impact of pornography on the brain,
Yeah.
particularly in children and teenagers.
This is an area where he expresses a lot of concern.
Yeah.
Developing brains are especially vulnerable.
Because they're still forming, those critical neural pathways.
Mm-hmm.
And the intense dopamine rush from pornography can actually hijack those pathways,
Oh, wow.
making it harder for young people to experience pleasure and motivation from healthy, age-appropriate activities.
That's pretty eye-opening.
Yeah.
And speaking of things that can rewire our brains,
Okay.
Dr. Amen also talks about the impact of alcohol, even in moderation.
Yeah. And he's not just speculating, he's pointing to scientific evidence that shows that alcohol, even in small amounts, can actually shrink the brain.
Hold on. Back up for a second.
Okay.
Alcohol can actually shrink our brain.
It can.
Seriously.
I know, it sounds crazy.
It does.
But that's what the research shows.
Wow.
And he also talks about how alcohol can disrupt these crucial white matter pathways.
Oh.
Those are like the information highways that connect different regions of the brain.
Yeah.
And so even minor disruptions in those pathways can have a significant impact on our overall cognitive function.
Okay. That's a bit of a sobering thought, pun intended.
I like that.
So if we're unknowingly damaging our brains with these everyday habits, what can we do to reverse the damage and give our brain some much needed TLC?
Well, Dr. Amen offers some surprisingly simple solutions, and one of them is incorporating saffron into your diet.
Wait, saffron?
Yeah.
The stuff that makes paella yellow?
That's the one.
Is that really a brain booster?
It might sound surprising,
Yeah.
but research suggests that saffron is as effective as antidepressants for mild to moderate depression, and it comes with fewer side effects.
Wow, okay, now I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this saffron magic.
Well, there's also some evidence to suggest that saffron might even enhance sexual function.
We've got mood boost, potential brain protection, maybe even a little libido lift.
That's right.
Okay, I'm starting to see why saffron is getting so much attention these days.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing spice.
And that's just scratching the surface of what Dr. Amen covers.
Yeah.
He also delves into the power of negative thinking, strategies for optimizing your brain for parenting, and even the potential impact of AI on our cognitive abilities.
It's a lot.
This is already so much to unpack, and I can tell we're just getting started.
I know.
So let's take a quick break, and then we'll dive even deeper into Dr. Amen's fascinating insights in the next part of our deep dive. Stay tuned.
Sounds good. Welcome back. Ready to explore some more brain-boosting insights?
Absolutely. I'm really curious about something you mentioned earlier.
Okay.
The power of negative thinking.
Right.
I mean, we all have negative thoughts sometimes.
Yeah, of course.
But Dr. Amen's seems to be suggesting that it can actually have a physical impact on our brains.
He's not exaggerating.
Okay.
His research shows that chronic negativity literally shrinks the prefrontal cortex.
Wow.
That's the area of the brain responsible for things like motivation and focus and mood regulation.
So it's like those negative thought patterns are actually chipping away at the very part of our brain
Yeah.
that helps us stay positive and resilient.
Exactly. It's like you're weakening your brain's ability to bounce back from challenges.
And to combat those pesky negative thoughts, Dr. Amen has this technique
He does.
that he calls killing ANTs.
Oh, yeah.
Automatic negative thoughts.
It's a good one.
Right. It's about recognizing those thoughts that just pop into our heads completely uninvited
Yeah.
and challenging their validity.
Are they really true?
Right. It's like becoming a thought detective.
You got it.
We have to investigate those negative thoughts before we let them take over.
Exactly. I mean, we so often just believe our thoughts without even questioning them.
Yeah.
But, just because we think something doesn't make it true.
Right.
Dr. Amen actually provides a really helpful step-by-step process for identifying those ANTs, examining the evidence, and then replacing them with more balanced and realistic thoughts.
So it's not about suppressing negative thoughts altogether.
No.
But rather about learning to manage them effectively.
It's about shifting your perspective.
Right.
Recognizing that you have the power to choose how you respond to your thoughts.
Okay.
And literally rewire your brain for positivity.
Now, Dr. Amen also delves into some pretty heavy stuff, like the impact of trauma and grief on the brain.
Yeah.
He even scanned the brain of Elizabeth Smart,
Wow.
who was kidnapped and held captive for 9 months.
It's a heartbreaking story.
It is, but what's remarkable is that Elizabeth Smart did not develop PTSD.
That's right.
Instead, she experienced what's called post-traumatic growth.
Yeah.
So some people can actually grow and become stronger after trauma.
It's pretty amazing. And Dr. Amen's brain scans actually provide evidence for this.
Wow.
He emphasizes that the brain you bring into the trauma is often a determining factor in how you cope with it. So building resilience and a healthy brain beforehand can make all the difference.
That's incredibly helpful.
It is.
It means that we're not necessarily doomed to suffer
Right.
long-term consequences from trauma.
Exactly. And even for those who have already experienced trauma, it's never too late to work towards healing and improving brain health.
Yeah.
There are so many therapies and strategies that can help rewire the brain and foster resilience.
Now, for all the parents out there, Dr. Amen also shares specific strategies
He does.
for raising mentally strong and resilient children.
One of his key recommendations is something he calls special time,
Okay.
which involves carving out dedicated time each day to just be present with your child. No distractions, no lectures, just pure connection.
I love that.
It's so important.
It's about creating that space for genuine connection.
Yeah.
And allowing your child to feel seen and heard.
Exactly.
Along with that, he emphasizes the importance of active listening.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Instead of jumping in with solutions or dismissing your child's feelings,
Right.
Active listening involves reflecting back what they're saying and acknowledging their emotions.
It makes such a difference.
This is making me reflect on my own childhood.
Oh, yeah.
My parents were loving, but they weren't always the best at active listening.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder how those communication patterns might have shaped my own development.
It's so true. We often parent the way we were parented.
Yeah.
But becoming aware of those patterns is the first step to breaking the cycle and creating a more supportive environment for our children.
Okay, so we've covered digital addiction, alcohol, negativity, trauma, parenting.
You've covered a lot.
It's a lot to process.
Yeah.
Is there any other major brain buster that we should be aware of?
Well, there's one more biggie that often gets overlooked. Sugar.
Sugar, but isn't that just a treat?
Yeah.
Not really a serious brain threat.
Well, don't underestimate the power of sugar.
Okay.
Dr. Amen's research shows that high blood sugar levels can damage blood vessels in the brain,
Oh, wow.
making them brittle and more prone to breakage.
And this can have serious consequences
Yeah.
for our cognitive function over time.
Yeah.
This reminds me of something I read about Alzheimer's disease. They're calling it type 3 diabetes now
Oh, wow. I haven't heard that.
because high blood sugar and insulin resistance seem to play such a significant role in its development.
It all comes back to how we fuel our brains.
Yeah.
A diet high in sugar and processed foods is basically a recipe for a disaster.
So ditch the donuts and reach for the blueberries. Got it.
And don't forget those healthy fats.
Right.
Dr. Amen really recommends a diet rich in omega-3 fatty acids,
Okay.
like those found in fatty fish and walnuts and flax seeds.
Okay.
Those healthy fats are crucial for brain function and can help protect against cognitive decline.
This is all so fascinating.
It is.
And dare I say, empowering.
Yeah.
It's like we have more control over our brain health than we realize.
That's the key takeaway here.
Yeah.
We can make choices every single day that either support or sabotage our brain health.
And speaking of choices, Dr. Amen advocates for using one simple question as a guiding principle.
Okay, what's that?
Is this good for my brain or bad for my brain?
I love how straightforward and practical that is.
That's right.
It's brilliant.
That's a brilliant framework. Imagine asking yourself that question before you reach for that extra glass of wine.
Yeah.
Or scroll through social media for hours.
Right.
Or indulge in that sugary treat.
It can really help us make more conscious decisions
Yeah.
that align with our brain health goals.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today.
I know we have.
We've explored the surprising ways we might be hurting our brains.
Yeah.
And some simple strategies for giving them the love that they deserve.
Yeah.
But there's still more to uncover.
There is. In the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore Dr. Amen's fascinating insights on ADHD,
What too?
the power of hope,
Okay.
and the potential impact of AI on our brains.
Can't wait. Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into brain health with Dr. Daniel Amen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really intrigued by this next topic, ADHD.
Yeah?
It feels like everyone's talking about it these days.
Right.
Is it truly on the rise?
Yeah.
Or are we just more aware of it now?
That's a great question. And it's something that Dr. Amen addresses directly.
Okay.
He acknowledges that ADHD is a real condition, with a strong genetic component.
Okay.
But he also points out that our modern environment
Yeah.
really tends to amplify these symptoms.
So it's kind of a nature and nurture situation.
Exactly. Our world is full of distractions, gadgets, social media, information overload.
It's a lot.
It's a lot for anyone to handle.
Yeah.
But especially challenging for those with ADHD.
It's almost like we're setting ourselves up for distraction.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah.
And Dr. Amen shares a really personal story about his own daughter.
Okay.
And he admits that even as a brain health expert, he didn't realize that she had ADHD at first.
Oh, wow.
She was struggling in school, working so hard just to keep up.
Right.
And feeling like she wasn't as smart as her friends.
It must have been so difficult for her.
It was really hard on the whole family.
Yeah.
But here's the incredible part.
Okay.
Dr. Amen, he scanned his daughter's brain, and he saw clear evidence of ADHD. And he
Right.
started her on a low dose of medication.
Okay.
And the transformation was remarkable.
I can only imagine what kind of changes did she experience?
Well, her grades improved.
Okay.
She could focus better in class.
Mhm.
She finally felt like she could keep up with her peers.
Wow.
Yeah, it really changed the trajectory of her life.
That's a powerful testament to the importance of early diagnosis and intervention.
It really is.
It also makes me think about how we often label kids as lazy or unmotivated
Right.
when there might be an underlying neurological reason for their struggles.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's crucial to approach these challenges with compassion and understanding.
Yeah.
And while medication can be really helpful in some cases, Dr. Amen emphasizes that it's not always the answer.
Right.
There are so many natural approaches that can also make a big difference.
Okay. Like what?
Things like exercise, mindfulness, dietary changes.
Speaking of natural approaches, Dr. Amen also highlights the power of hope and its impact on the brain.
Oh, definitely.
This really resonates with me because I've definitely noticed how my mindset affects my energy and resilience.
Hope is such a powerful force.
It is.
Dr. Amen explains that it actually activates the reward centers in our brain,
Right.
releasing dopamine, making us feel more motivated and optimistic.
It's like hope fuels our brains in a positive way,
It does.
giving us the energy to keep going even when things get tough.
Exactly. And on the flip side, when we're feeling hopeless, it can be incredibly draining, It makes everything feel so much harder.
It really does.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up,
Okay.
we need to talk about the elephant in the room,
Okay.
artificial intelligence.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It's rapidly changing the world around us, and I'm really curious
Yeah.
about what Dr. Amen has to say about its potential impact on our brains.
It's a fascinating topic.
Yeah.
And one that Dr. Amen approaches with a mix of excitement and caution. While he acknowledges that there are many ways that AI can enhance our lives, he's also concerned that over-reliance on technology could lead to a decline in certain cognitive skills.
Like what kinds of skills?
Things like memory, attention span, problem-solving abilities.
Yeah.
When we rely on GPS to navigate for us or spell check to catch our errors, our brains aren't getting that same workout.
It's almost like we're outsourcing our thinking to technology.
In a way, yeah, we're becoming a little too dependent.
Right.
So while Dr. Amen is optimistic about the potential of AI, he urges us to be mindful of how we use it.
Okay.
He emphasizes the importance of maintaining strong social connections,
Yeah.
engaging in activities that actually challenge our brains, and staying physically active.
It's a great reminder that even in a world increasingly dominated by technology,
Right.
we still have the power to shape our own brain health.
We do.
It all comes back to those conscious choices we make every day.
That's what it's all about.
Well, this deep dive into Dr. Amen's work has been incredibly insightful.
I agree.
I feel like I have a whole new understanding of how my everyday habits affect my brain health.
Good.
And, more importantly, what I can do to nurture this amazing organ.
It's fascinating stuff, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
And it all starts with that simple but profound question.
Okay.
Is this good for my brain or bad for my brain?
Such a good one.
I know, right? And that's something that I'm going to be asking myself a lot more often from now on.
I think we all should.
So to all of you listening out there, we encourage you to take what you've learned from this deep dive and apply it to your own lives. Start small.
Right.
Be consistent.
Yeah.
And remember,
Okay.
your brain will thank you for it.
It will.
That's it for this deep dive into brain health.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time, keep those brains sharp.
And keep diving deep.